Hello and welcome to the latest Royal Roundup from talkTV. So pop the kettle on, this is the Royalty. I'm Sarah Hewson. With the King's coronation fast approaching, the guest list is being finalised, the crown has been chosen, but everyone is still asking, will Harry and Meghan be there? Joining me to discuss that and plenty more, a royal commentator and talkTV regular Afua Hagan, author of Elizabeth and Philip, Tessa Dunlop, and the Daily Mirror's royal editor Russell Myers. Hello to all of you. It's been confirmed the Queen Consort is to wear Queen Mary's crown for the coronation, a diplomatic move avoiding the controversy of the Koh-i-Noor diamonds. Russell, what do you make of this decision?
Well, it's a convenient sidestep, I suppose, because a lot of background noise surrounding what crown Camilla would wear. I mean, it's adding to the noise of the guest list, imagine, that's filling everyone's sort of minds. But, I mean, the fact that Prime Minister Modi in India has said that the British royal family have a duty to give this back. The Koh-i-Noor diamond is steeped in controversy. I mean, it's been claimed from everyone before, from India, Pakistan, the Taliban have even claimed sort of ownership of it. So again, I think while we're learning of the sort of details of the coronation, it's a nice sidestep from Buckingham Palace. But I'm not too sure about how sustainable sort of a crown with many diamonds is. It sort of becomes a bit laughable, I think.
Tessa, what do you think of the choice and the significance of it?
She had to do something, that she could not have walked down the aisle had this crown placed on her head with a hugely controversial diamond, which, by the way, is currently set, I believe, in the late Queen Mother's crown that she wore when George VI was coronated, when she was consort. So this isn't having the big diamond taken out of it, because I think some of the reports were a little bit misleading. There was this idea that the diamond was going to be wrenched out of Mary's headgear. Nice piece, by the way, very Art Deco of its time, 1911. Tasteful, will suit Camilla. It's a slightly more dainty crown than some. But we're going to have to address the issue of one of the world's largest diamonds being in our royal family's keep. That ain't going away anytime soon.
It pushes it into the long grass and past the coronation, does it?
No.
I mean, is that the idea?
Well, they're fighting at a lot of levels at the moment. You've got the controversy for this. No doubt there'll be discussions whether the King and the Queen Consort will go to the Commonwealth. We saw what a disaster William and Kate's tour was. You've then got the background of discussions of reparations and slavery apologies, and this kind of adds to it. So there's a lot on their plate at the moment.
And this crown is been removed. It's been removed from the Tower of London, but it is being altered for Camilla. There will be changes made to it.
Well, definitely, she'll have to practice wearing it. Like Tessa said, it's a much more, a more dainty crown than the other one. Not
it's
as
having
heavy.
the 4 arches removed.
Exactly, but it still also has the Cullinan diamond in it. You know, that's been divided into 9 parts, and that in itself, you know, the biggest diamond ever discovered in South Africa, in a South African mine that has a slightly dodgy history itself. And remember, one of those diamonds is still on the Orban scepter as well. So you still have, like you guys so rightly said, it doesn't actually push into the long grass this issue of the crown jewels and artifacts that are in possession of the royal family that don't necessarily belong to them. There's lots of things. And I think as we go into this new reign of King Charles III, he is going to have to address this issue of diamonds and artifacts that don't necessarily belong to the royal family but are in their collection. And there is countries around the Commonwealth, you know, Ghana is one, South Africa, India, which are calling for their artifacts and their jewels to be returned. And as you go into this new reign, that is something that's going to have to be addressed. And there's more things that are going to be brought out for the coronation that people are going to find controversial.
We're in a period of restitution. It's the buzzword. Germany's at it, France. It would be great, I think, if our royal family could front foot this, a bit like one of the Scandinavian royal houses recently were going to hold an investigation into our role in slavery. Was it the Dutch one or the Norwegian?
I think it's,
and I
Scandinavia. But they're damned if they do, damned if they
but
don't. And where does that lead to?
I still think Well,
Particularly in the case of the Koh-i-Noor diamond, which is contested by multiple
Exactly.
countries.
So why not open an investigation? Why not say we're going to have a bit of an inquiry?
But who needs that
into this?
investigation? Because then you're looking, you know, you're back to kind of...
But this is the thing, is that, you know, you can open investigations into the role of the royal family in slavery, in the role of owning mines, taking diamonds, you know, putting bayonets up to people's faces and demanding that they hand over the diamonds so that there's peace in wartime. At the end of the day, we know what's happened. It's well documented. It's well documented how the British marched into... I mean, I could tell you the story of how artifacts from my ancestors were taken by the British royal family in times of war. It's well documented. It doesn't need to be an investigation. What we need to decide is, or what the royal family need to decide is, if we are going to be absolutely truthful and confident about how we move forward, still governing some of the realms and some of the countries in the Commonwealth, where the effects of, number one, taking the artifacts and the jewels, and number two, the effects of slavery are still felt, and therefore number three, we're going to pay reparations. Just do it. Investigations have been done, the facts are known, just get on with it.
In this particular case, this diamond, one of the issues you need to investigate is where it goes back to, and that buys the royal family time, which is what we need to do at the moment, buy them a bit of time.
What they don't have a lot of time for is finalising the guest list. No. The invitations are due to be sent out shortly. One is going to be winging its way, we are told, to Montecito, to Harry and Meghan. The ball then in their court. Russell, do they come? Do they come together?
Big question, all still talking about it. I mean, I've been told that they've just this week, they've still made no decision. They are undecided, and someone close to Harry...
Feels a bit reminiscent of the Platinum Jubilee, didn't it? Went down to the wire.
Someone spoke who knows Harry very well, said that he's undecided for the very reason that nothing has changed. I mean, you saw the interviews that he was giving during the publicising of his book, Spare, by saying he wants to sit down with his father and his brother. He wants them to reconcile with him, saying the ball is in their court. Well, there's been no discussions directly about that. There's been no discussions about whether they will attend. So let's see, I suppose when the invitation arrives, then the chat will have to be had.
Russ, you've got your finger on the pulse. You're almost, I think, a twin, Harry's about the same age. Surely you agree that they're going to come. Oh, they ain't going to pass this up.
I would be staggered if they didn't come. I think there's obviously the
But what kind of conditions will there be for their attendance?
It'll be in and out. You have to look at the reception he got when he was here. The fact that William, the Wessexes and Andrew left without him on the plane, left him to go up to Balmoral on his own.
Didn't even see him at Balmoral.
Didn't see him. He got there late. He was only welcomed by Princess Anne, and then he left really early in the morning. I mean, the relations are at rock bottom. Before
and that was
came
before
out.
Netflix
Exactly.
and the book.
But I think we also have to remember that Saturday is Archie's birthday, and I think that's also going to be a huge thing for them to decide on. How are we going to celebrate? So could it be a case of Harry flies in, flies out, does 48 hours here, does the important bits and goes back and leaves Meghan and Archie and Lilibet and the rest of that side of the family to celebrate? Or do they all come and celebrate here? Or do Harry and Meghan come? I mean, I think there's so much at play. You're absolutely right, Russell, in saying that relations are absolutely at rock bottom. But I think Archie's birthday is going to play a part in that as well. But I would like to think, I think I have decided for them, but I think we will see, I think I've changed my mind. No, I think we might see all of them. I think they all might attend with Doria and possibly have a celebration here for Archie like they did for Lilibet's birthday.
Yeah. Does it slightly depend whether they're going to be given an elevated position in, say, the procession or
they're not, though, are they?
No, definitely. There'll be absolutely nothing.
No, there's no procession or position for Harry. I mean, we already know that the Dukes won't be kneeling, won't be required to be involved.
At the Platinum Jubilee, you remember when they entered, was it St Paul's? They were given their sort of own choreographed moment. Okay, they sat with the also-ran royals, but they did have their little moment coming in alone and walking down the aisle, and that was, I'm sure, on the instigation of the Queen. You could see something like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all poured over that when William and Kate walked in, the fact that William didn't even lock eyes with his brother, and I was there. I mean, I saw that Harry was desperately looking over his shoulder to try and catch his brother's eye, and you saw it all in that one moment, that how bad these relations are, and as you say, way before for the Netflix series, the book. I think they should come. I think there should be sort of the occasion is much bigger than these petty squabbles. Yeah. They should celebrate a young child's birthday and try and move on from the big disaster that it's been, to be honest.
On the subject of family squabbles, Samantha Markle appeared in court for her defamation case against her half-sister Meghan. This week, she is accusing her of a false rags-to-riches narrative. Afua, what is this all about? This is about different people's versions of their own truth, is it? This is the I was an only child claim.
And that's a really good question, because actually what is this all about? Now, a lot of Samantha Markle's ire is actually directed at finding freedom by Omid Scobie. And the judge actually said, well, a lot of the issues that you're having with this book can't really be levelled against Meghan, because Meghan
you can't say Meghan
write
defamed you because she didn't write it.
She didn't write it, she didn't publish it. So that's kind of a moot point. And also Samantha Markle is saying that, you know, Meghan said that she was an only child, but the actual statement didn't come out of her mouth, I am an only child. It was implied in how she was talking in that Oprah interview. So she has some issues with that as well. She's asking for, I think it's $75,000, which seems a bit of an arbitrary sum to me. I mean, if it was me, I'd be going for like a 10 million, a 5 million, maybe a 25 million, more than that. So that kind of seems to me like, what is the point in you doing this? A lot of what she's saying is being thrown out. And actually, I just think there's a lot of bitterness between these two women. Meghan Markle didn't want to give evidence, didn't want to be a part of it, just wanted it to be thrown out. Samantha Markle is insisting in taking this further forward. And let's remember that Meghan Markle does have a really good relationship with Samantha's daughter.
It's also worth bearing in mind that they are now going to have to answer questions. Well, certainly Meghan Markle is. So a judge hasn't thrown it out completely. This was not what the Sussexes wanted, having to respond to certain legal inquiries. So it's not all gone Meghan Markle's way. And I think to an extent, they've got a giant platform, the Sussexes. Yes, I know she wrote the book Princess Pushy or whatever, and Samantha's got a gob on her.
And Meghan says Samantha only changed her name back to Markle at the time of her relationship with Harry, etc.
Actually, if you've got this oversized platform like the Sussexes do, you're going to expect to get a bit of pushback from the likes of Samantha.
Yeah, you can't sort of moan about your dirty linen being aired in public when you've been doing that for the last couple of years yourself. So
we'll come on to that in a bit about South Park. But a resurfaced blog post from Meghan's now defunct website, The Tig, has revealed her true feelings about royal princesses before she met Prince Harry. The entry from 2014 revealed that she dreamt of being a royal rebel rather than a Cinderella as a child, as she reflected on the pomp and circumstance and endless conversation about the wedding of Princess Kate. It's not the most flattering portrayal, is it, Russell? And I wonder, given that Meghan said she didn't know anything about the royal family before she met Harry, and she didn't even recognise Andrew, she thought he was one of the Queen's aides. Does this kind of, because he was carrying her handbag, does this kind of undermine that claim, given that she was right?
Well, I mean, I just don't know why she ever said this in the first place, and it brings you back to the awful sort of PR advice that they've always had, the Sussexes, and continue to have. They think they can do it all themselves. But if you just sat down and thought about, you know, the things you don't say is that I didn't know anything about the royal family. Everybody knows about the royal family. There's a picture of you outside Buckingham Palace. We all know who Harry and William are. The Yanks absolutely adore the royal family, or some of them do at least. But I think, again, scratch the surface of some of Meghan's claims, and they all fall down, unfortunately, for her.
But I think more broadly, I mean, there are royal geeks, presumably a few of you watching the show, and there are those who are like, oh yeah, that's the Queen, and there's a couple of princes, and yeah, why do we always bang on about that Kate getting married? I think that sentiment, you can have it. You can not be somebody who reads the sort of inner pages of Hello, and maybe Meghan thought that was who she was. She certainly wasn't that same person in 2018 when she went down the aisle in a big old white dress, linked arms with the man who's about to be coronated. So people don't like that word, by the way, coronated.
No,
man
I'm not. I feel. I'm not keen on it. Okay. I'm sorry, Tessa.
She walked down the aisle with the man about to be crowned.
How difficult do you think this is for her? It's not really, is it? I mean, you know, it's an old blog. It's going to come back up again. She thought there was too much fuss. She wanted to be She-Ra.
I mean, to be honest though, I wanted to be She-Ra when I was young as well, because she was amazing. And He-Man was a bit of all right with his flowing hair. That's a different conversation. Listen, I don't think this is too problematic for her. I think, like Tessa said, you can be someone who's aware of like the most obvious royals, the Queen and potentially Prince Philip. But I mean, a lot of people, I was about to say a phrase that I could never have said, but a lot of people couldn't necessarily recognise Prince Andrew, and he could look like one of the Queen's
they probably
courtiers.
can now.
Well, yes. I mean, I was going to say you couldn't pick him out of a
reasons.
lineup, but that, you know, cut that out.
It's the invisibility of middle age, isn't it? I think, you know,
I
in the 80s,
don't
most
know.
people
I just
know
think
who
Prince
was.
Andrew just kind of maybe has an unrecognisable face. And yes, you know, there was a lot of discourse around Kate Middleton's wedding, and maybe at that time she was like, gosh, that could never be me. Fast forward 4 years later and it was love. So yeah.
And now finding themselves the subject of the latest South Park episode, which is taking a swipe at the Sussexes. The episode was entitled The Worldwide Privacy Tour, and it featured a red-headed Canadian prince and his wife. The pair try to find seclusion in a small mountain town, but their campaign to sell their books annoys the locals. Sound familiar? Is the old adage true? Any publicity, good publicity? Or, Russell, are we seeing here, you know, this is a couple who want to be taken seriously and say that they want us to take them seriously for the work that they're doing. And potentially, Meghan even has political aspirations, and yet they're being lampooned repeatedly now.
Well, they are, but they do it to themselves a lot of the time, so I don't think they can complain. I mean, George Clooney once said, if you're not in South Park, then you should be offended by it in the first place. And I think they should treat this like a badge of honour. They can't get too precious about it. Yes, of course, you know, people in their camp, they will be saying that they should be taken seriously. They do some amazing work through their foundation. There's been an awful lot of noise and disquiet and, you know, just absolute, just car crash arguments that we need to get away from. I mean, and hopefully the coronation or the crowning could be something that will move this family forward.
Although we kind of thought that with the Queen's death, though, didn't we, Russell, that might bring them back together?
We knew the book would be explosive. I don't think we knew exactly what would be said, and I think it blew everything out the water. But something needs to change, and I think there needs to be some sort of introspection from Harry, and that still seems to be lacking a little bit. Again, what I was told this week, that nothing has changed.
I'm sorry, you're expecting a public schoolboy prince to have introspection?
Well, I think, you know, lessons need to be learned, and perhaps on both sides. Yeah. And until that happens, you know, we're still going to be talking about this for a long time.
Just quickly on their brand, though, imagine Kate and William in South Park. I just can't see it. They're a massive brand, Harry and Meghan, which is why we also need them at the coronation, because they really add something. Love them or loathe them.
Tessa, you talked about the Sussex brand, and with their reputation taking a hit, it seems the couple have hired a Hollywood deal maker to help increase their earnings. They've been introduced, it's reported, to Adam Lilling through their friend Ellen DeGeneres, who's worked with Lilling for years. And it's also been rumoured that the Sussexes want to produce more rom-com material for Netflix. But this deal maker, what does this tell us about the next steps for the Sussexes? Because we've heard, you know, the look-back projects are done now. It's about looking forward. And what's to come?
It says to me that perhaps they're looking to do more things that are lighter, more fun. You know, a rom-com for Netflix. I love that on a Sunday afternoon. Why can't we have a Harry and Meghan produced one? I could be in it, just saying. But it does say that they want to do things that are different. Like we said, that the documentary and the book were the last of the look-back projects. Now they want to do things that are going to be uplifting, perhaps more charitable work, more things that are positive. And I think that's great. And if you're going for things like rom-coms, fiction, it's going to be less about what they went through in their story and what lightness and joy they can bring to a Sunday afternoon on Netflix.
Because that is a big I don't think we have heard the last. I think we're going to see definitely another Netflix series, what Harry and Meghan dig next. It's got the sort of Katie Price's, Kardashians of a Meghan book, whether that's a wellness book or her sort of journey.
It'll be a fusion,
we definitely are going to see that, because they're still big business, regardless of whether you love them or hate them. They are going to make an awful lot of money, and they need money as well.
But don't you think they will have realised that people will have got to a saturation point with the "this is what happened" narrative, and actually they do need to take that forward for people to continue to buy into them and take them seriously.
But projects like Pearl, for example, didn't get off the ground. And if you take the Sussexes out of it and they're just in the background, does it still sell?
I think that's the big problem. Critically, would you put Harry and Meghan behind a project that wasn't about their personal lives? Why them? And there's almost a fear, if it is about them but not about their personal lives, there's that kind of worthy aspect that just never gets traction. You know, great, they do loads of charity work, but is charity ever bums on seats material, really, in all honesty? So I think there is a bit of a paradox almost there at the heart of their brand that they need to resolve.
Could we see Meghan return to acting in any of these
so.
productions? Do you think that's gone now?
Way beyond that, I mean, made an awful lot of money, sort of mega star level. You're talking about knocking around with Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres. They're not going to go back to that. They're only interested in moving forward, and they've had a few bumps in the road. I mean, the main thing for them should be repairing relations with the family, and the two sides coming together. Your guess is as good as mine whether that will happen at the moment.
Yeah, and the big issue around that is trust, isn't it? Because the previous conversations that took place after Prince Philip's funeral, for example, have now.
And why would they? There is no trust at the moment. I mean, Harry can say he wants a reconciliation from the side of the family, but there is zero trust. And why wouldn't there be? There needs to be some cooling off period. And I do think there will be another Netflix series. I do think there'll be another book. So any conversations could end up being content. Exactly. Yeah.
It is possible to spend a very long time estranged from your siblings. That's not unheard of, and it's certainly not unheard of in the royal family. That would be very sad, and I think they need to sort it. But one of the problems is, in terms of time, the Queen's death, you couldn't control. The coronation as a result of the Queen's death. These have all come a little bit too soon, I think.
Yeah,
it's
the clock is ticking, and
it's still so hot for them. Yeah.
Well, that is all we've got time for this week. My thanks to Afua, Tessa and Russell. We will be back next week with all of the latest on the royal family. We hope you can join us. We'll see you then.